Protests are continuing to spread in Iran and have now entered their 15th day. This is despite a deadly crackdown and the threat of facing the death penalty. Iran's internet blackout is past the 70-hour mark, but visuals continue to trickle in, reportedly thanks to smuggled Starlink devices that exist in Iran. 2 weeks of demonstrations, more than 2 weeks now, of course, they've posed one of the biggest challenges to the authorities who have ruled Iran since 1979. Several videos are coming out of Tehran and other cities, likely using Starlink satellite transmitters. These show how the protests have spread far and wide. In his first remarks after 3 nights of intensified anti-regime protests in Iran, President Pezeshkian says the rioters should not be allowed to disrupt Iranian society.
We ask that in every neighborhood, people come together and not let these people riot. If people have a concern, we will hear them. It is our duty to hear them and solve their problems. However, our highest duty is to not allow rioters to come and disrupt the society.
Iran's police chief says security forces have stepped up efforts to confront rioters on the streets. This as authorities attempt to quell the unrest that has spread across Iran since the 28th of December.
As for the police, given that we consider this level as the level of riots, we'll have a firm, fast, and sharp response to the rioters. And protesters should also know that they are being used as bait, which may result in death.
In Mashhad, the hometown of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, protesters gathered along a highway chanting slogans as fires burnt around them. The protesters were heard chanting Pahlavi will return and long live the king. The protests began in response to soaring inflation before turning against the country's clerical establishment. The government accuses the US and Israel of fomenting deadly unrest. This is another video shared on social media which showed crowds gathered in Punak Square in Tehran. The internet blackout continues in Iran and phone lines have been cut off. According to the US-based human rights activists news agency, 538 people and even more are feared dead. AP reports citing US-based human rights activists news agency, and at least 10,600 people have been detained in Iran so far, as the protests have spread across all its provinces. Demonstrations are taking place across different parts of the world in solidarity with the protesters in Iran. In London, a protester briefly replaced the flag of the Islamic Republic of Iran on its London embassy with a flag that was used in Iran during the time of the Shah before 1979. The flag stayed in place for several minutes before being removed. US President Donald Trump said on Saturday that his country was ready to help the movement. Trump wrote on social media, Iran is looking at freedom, perhaps like never before. The US stands ready to help. The message, as one would expect, the message invited a sharp response from the Iranian government. Iran's parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, warned that any US attack would lead to Tehran striking right back. Israel and regional US military bases would be considered legitimate targets.
Know that in case of an attack on Iran, the occupied lands as well as US military bases in the region will be our legitimate targets. And with all these clear confessions that you made about invading Iran, we will not limit ourselves to a reaction. We will act based on signs of threats.
And we just spoke with Yusuf Jalali. He's a senior journalist based in Tehran. He broke down the details of how Iranian parliament is responding to US President Trump's comments.
And what's interesting is that some of the Iranian officials have pointed to or suggested or hinted at a preemptive strike against Israel and United States bases in the region if the United States keeps up provoking Iran with its comments or with its quote-unquote interventionist policy towards Iran. We heard it from the Iranian parliament speaker, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, who was addressing the Iranian parliamentarians on Sunday, and he said that the United States should know that Iran is ready to strike what he called the occupied territories in Palestine, and by this he meant Israel. He said that Iran could strike those areas and those regions, and of course the bases of the United States in the region. He said that those bases are within reach of Iran's missiles, and if the United States keeps intervening in Iran's affairs or interfering in Iran's affairs, then those bases are a legitimate target for Iran's missiles.